Have you ever noticed how some men, after hitting 40, suddenly stop chasing love like they once did? It's not laziness, it's not disinterest, it's something deeper, something almost invisible that changes the way they see relationships forever. He shifts in priorities. By the time a man crosses the threshold of 40, life has already shaped him in ways that are subtle yet profoundly transformative. The restless energy that once drove him to chase every fleeting attraction begins to mellow into a more measured approach to love, not because desire has vanished, but because experience has redefined what matters most. In the earlier years, love often feels like an urgent necessity, a goal that must be pursued relentlessly, as if validation and fulfillment hinge on catching the right person at the right moment. But by 40, the weight of lived experience introduces a new perspective. Career responsibilities that once demanded tireless energy and long hours have taught him the value of structure, focus, and stability. Family commitments, whether in the form of children, aging parents, or even close-knit circles of friends, have illustrated that life is not just about the thrill of the chase, but about creating a sustainable, balanced existence. The pursuit of love, which may have once been impulsive and driven by youthful emotion, is now filtered through this broader lens of life's demands. In these years, a man has witnessed love in its many forms, the euphoric highs, the devastating lows, and the subtle, often overlooked patterns in between. He has observed how infatuation can fade as quickly as it ignites, how relationships built on superficial attraction crumble under the weight of real-life challenges, and how time spent chasing the wrong person can result in the quiet erosion of one's own well-being. These experiences leave their mark, subtly influencing the way he views the effort required to pursue romantic interests. The impulsive gestures and frantic chase that once seemed necessary now feel less appealing, replaced by a preference for meaningful engagement that aligns with his evolved understanding of love and partnership. Each decision is measured, intentional, and often guided by a quiet inner voice that values depth over surface-level excitement. Moreover, men over 40 tend to cultivate a clear sense of personal boundaries. Decades of experience have made them acutely aware of what they will and will not tolerate in relationships. They have learned that energy spent chasing someone who does not reciprocate respect, interest, or emotional investment is energy wasted. Where a younger man might have chased a fleeting spark, a man in his 40s recognizes the importance of aligning effort with value. This doesn't mean he is incapable of passion or spontaneity. On the contrary, his desire for authentic connection is often stronger, but it is guided by discernment rather than impulsivity. He understands that love is not a game of conquest, but a dance of mutual intention. And the choice to engage is made from a place of clarity rather than compulsion. The shift in priorities also reflects a broader understanding of self. By 40, a man has often established his identity, honed his skills, and built a life that reflects his ambitions and values. He has invested in personal growth, learning to navigate challenges, embrace responsibility, and find satisfaction in achievements that extend beyond romantic success. Love is no longer the defining element of his existence, but rather a complement to an already fulfilling life. This sense of completeness reduces the need to chase aggressively because he no longer seeks validation through the attention of another. He approaches relationships with patience, waiting for connections that enhance rather than define his life. The idea of chasing love loses its urgency when a man understands that the right partnership will emerge organically without forcing, manipulating, or compromising his own stability. This change in perspective is not only practical but deeply psychological. The experiences of disappointment, heartbreak, and unmet expectations over the years instill a quiet wisdom, a recognition that not every pursuit is worth the cost. A man over 40 measures the potential return on emotional investment more carefully, considering compatibility, shared values, and long-term harmony rather than momentary attraction. Where younger years may have been marked by intensity, impulsivity, and often a willingness to endure chaos for the sake of connection, these later years are defined by selectivity, intentionality, and a prioritization of mental and emotional well-being. The shift in priorities is both a shield and a guide that protects him from unnecessary pain, while steering him toward connections that resonate on a deeper level. Every decision in love now reflects this cumulative wisdom. Late-night pursuits of attention are replaced with deliberate choices to invest time where it truly matters. The urgency to impress or secure affection gives way to a quiet confidence rooted in self-awareness. Romantic gestures are no longer about chasing approval, but about nurturing meaningful bonds, demonstrating care through actions that carry weight and sincerity. The man over 40 understands that life is finite, that his energy is valuable, and that love should be a source of enhancement rather than exhaustion. The pursuit transforms from a desperate chase into a thoughtful journey, one guided by lessons learned, priorities realigned, and an understanding that the quality of connection outweighs the quantity. Of conquest's emotional wisdom over infatuation. By the time a man reaches his 40s, he has gathered enough emotional experiences to see love with a clarity he never had in his younger years. The rush of infatuation that once pulled him into relationships without thinking no longer has the same power over him. He has lived through enough to recognize patterns, how quickly intense attraction can fade, how often early excitement masks incompatibility, and how dangerous it is to mistake emotional sparks for genuine connection. This emotional wisdom becomes the compass that guides his choices. It's not that he's incapable of feeling deeply anymore. It's that he understands feelings alone are not always a trustworthy foundation. That awareness slowly dissolves the thrill of chasing someone who may not truly align with his emotional needs or long-term vision. Instead of being drawn to the adrenaline of pursuit, he becomes drawn to the peace. That comes from emotional compatibility, stability, and genuine understanding. This wisdom isn't something he learned overnight. It comes from the weight of heartbreaks that once left him sleepless, from the disappointments that forced him to rebuild himself, and from relationships where he gave too much while receiving too little. Every emotional scar has taught him something valuable about human behavior, his own patterns, and the kind of connection he genuinely desires. When a man is young, he often mistakes intensity for love. He thinks the butterflies, the thrill, and the chase are signs of something meaningful. But with age, he recognizes that sometimes those very feelings are signals of something unstable, something based on desire rather than compatibility. So the chase loses its significance because he knows the cost of chasing. The wrong person is far greater than the temporary excitement it brings. Men over 40 often reach a stage where emotional peace becomes more important than emotional chaos. He can sense red flags quickly, sometimes within minutes, because he has seen them before. He recognizes when someone's intentions don't match their words, when emotional maturity is lacking, or when a connection is based more on fantasy than reality. This ability to read people deeply and accurately is not cynicism but self-preservation. It protects his heart, his time, and his emotional energy. He no longer feels the need to prove himself to anyone, nor does he feel compelled to pursue someone who treats love like a game. The emotional wisdom he has gained gives him the courage to walk away from situations that once would have trapped him in cycles of uncertainty. The other transformation that happens at this stage is his understanding of emotional reciprocity. In younger years, many men invest effort into relationships where the interest isn't mutual. They chase, they try to impress, they overgive, hoping that effort will translate into love. By 40, he knows better. He has learned that love cannot be earned through chasing. It must be mutual from the beginning. If someone is distant, uncertain, or inconsistent, he doesn't chase harder, he simply steps back. He knows that real connection doesn't require him to exhaust himself or compromise his self-respect. Emotional wisdom has taught him that the right person reciprocates effort without being asked, and anything less is unworthy of pursuit. With this maturity also comes a deeper understanding of what he wants emotionally. When he was younger, he might have been attracted to physical beauty, charisma, or the thrill of the unknown. But now, he values emotional intelligence, kindness, honesty, and depth. He wants someone who communicates openly, who understands responsibility, who respects boundaries, and who values connection beyond superficial attraction. This shift makes the act of chasing feel childish, unnecessary, and misaligned with the kind of love he now seeks. Instead of pursuing, he prefers connecting. Instead of chasing, he pays attention to how someone makes him feel, how they treat him, and whether their presence brings calm or chaos. He also becomes more selective, not because he has high standards in a superficial sense, but because he understands the impact a relationship has on his mental and emotional well-being. He knows that the wrong relationship can drain years from his life, derail his goals, and suffocate his peace. Emotional wisdom teaches him to choose carefully, to value quantity over quantity, and to invest only in connections that feel healthy and genuine. This selectivity naturally reduces the desire to chase, because he is no longer interested in impressing anyone who isn't equally invested. This emotional maturity makes him grounded, thoughtful, and patient. He becomes someone who listens instead of reacting, who observes instead of assuming, and who values emotional truth over romantic illusion. The excitement of pursuing someone loses its importance because he no longer wants temporary intensity. He wants lasting harmony. He doesn't fall for empty words, mixed signals, or superficial charm. He seeks emotional depth, mutual clarity, and a connection that feels safe, consistent, and intentional. Infatuation no longer blinds him because his emotional wisdom has sharpened his intuition, his boundaries, and his understanding of what love truly requires: self-sufficiency and inner fulfillment. By the time a man reaches his 40s, he has often built a life that no longer revolves around the need for external validation or constant approval. Over the years, he has faced countless challenges, navigated failures, and celebrated achievements that have gradually shaped a deep sense of self-sufficiency. This inner fulfillment changes the dynamics of love entirely because he no longer sees romantic pursuit as a means to complete himself. Unlike younger years, when love might have felt like the missing piece of identity or the key to feeling whole, a man over 40 typically understands that his life is already rich with meaning, purpose, and accomplishments. This understanding fosters a profound sense of confidence, one that is quiet but unwavering, rooted in a recognition of his own value and the life he has carefully constructed. As a result, the need to chase love loses urgency, replaced by a patient approach that prioritizes genuine connection over empty pursuit. Self-sufficiency in this context does not equate to isolation or emotional detachment. Instead, it reflects a man's ability to find joy, purpose, and satisfaction in his own endeavors and passions. He has cultivated hobbies, nurtured friendships, and built a career or personal mission that sustains him emotionally and intellectually. When love enters the picture, it is welcomed as an enhancement rather than a necessity, a partnership that complements an already fulfilling life. The freedom that comes with this independence allows him to approach relationships with clarity, patience, and deliberate intention. He no longer feels pressured to prove his worth through constant attention or grand gestures, because he's already grounded in a solid sense of self. This self-reliance manifests as an attractive confidence, one that does not scream for validation, but naturally draws meaningful connections through authenticity and presence. Another dimension of this self-sufficiency is emotional resilience. By 40, a man has experienced heartbreak, disappointment, and betrayal, and he has learned to navigate these experiences without losing sight of his own stability. He recognizes that love, while deeply rewarding, carries risks, and he approaches these risks with a calculated awareness that comes from lived experience. The confidence derived from self-sufficiency allows him to engage in relationships without fear of dependency or desperation. He understands that emotional security cannot be outsourced to another person, that a healthy partnership is built on mutual support rather than neediness. This clarity ensures that his involvement in love is intentional, measured, and respectful of both his own needs and those of his partner. Financial and practical stability also contribute significantly to this sense of inner fulfillment. By this stage of life, many men have achieved milestones that provide a foundation of security, whether through career accomplishments, investments, or lifestyle choices. This stability frees him from the compulsive pursuit of relationships driven by survival status or validation. He no longer chases affection to prove success or worthiness because his achievements have already established his independence. Love becomes a choice made from abundance, not scarcity, a conscious decision to share life with someone who resonates with his values, desires, and vision for the future. This shift transforms the dynamics of romantic pursuit, emphasizing compatibility, shared growth, and meaningful engagement over the frantic, sometimes desperate energy of earlier years. Furthermore, a man who has cultivated inner fulfillment understands the importance of alignment in relationships. He has learned through experience that superficial attraction, fleeting chemistry, or external approval are insufficient foundations for lasting connection. Instead, he seeks depth, authenticity, and shared vision. Self-sufficiency empowers him to be discerning, to recognize when a connection enriches his life rather than disrupts it. The act of chasing becomes unnecessary because he is no longer driven by fear of loneliness or a need to fill an emotional void. He can afford to wait, to observe, and to invest energy where it truly matters. This patience, born from fulfillment, ensures that the love he pursues or allows to enter his life is grounded in intention, respect, and genuine desire for partnership rather than compulsion. Ultimately, the combination of independence, emotional resilience, and personal accomplishment transforms a man's approach to love over 40. The urgency that once fueled relentless pursuit is replaced by confidence, patience, and selectivity. Relationships are no longer a measure of worth, but an opportunity for shared enrichment, mutual growth, and meaningful connection. The energy once spent chasing is now directed toward nurturing existing bonds, pursuing passions, and living a life that is vibrant, fulfilled, and self-sustaining.